So we're going to call this hearing to order. The Assembly Transportation Committee is now called to order. Establish a quorum, Madam Secretary, please. Call the roll.
Frazier.
Here.
Linder.
Here.
Baker. Bloom. Brown. Chu. Daly. Dodd. Eduardo Garcia. Gomez. Kim. Mathis.
Here.
Medina.
Here.
Melendez. Here. Nazarian.
Present.
O'Donnell.
Here. So it's been acknowledged that we have a quorum. We have some announcements to make. We have measures on consent, file item number 11, AB 1943. File item number 14, AB 2014, with amendments. File item number 26, AB 2708. And file item number 27, AB 2741. Would any member of the committee like to remove an item from the consent calendar? 11 is on consent.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. It's 10.
I beg your pardon, it is 10. Thank you for catching that, Mr. Mathis. Would any member like to pull from the consent? Seeing none, do I have a motion for a first and a second? Mr. Linder and Ms. Melendez on the first and second. Madam Secretary, please call the roll for the consent calendar.
Frazier.
Aye.
Frazier, aye. Linder. Aye. Linder, aye. Baker. Baker, aye. Bloom. Brown. Chu. Daly. Daly, aye. Dodd. Dodd, aye. Eduardo Garcia. Eduardo Garcia, aye. Gomez. Kim. Mathis. Mathis, aye. Medina. Medina, aye. Melendez. Melendez, aye. Nazarian.
Aye.
Nazarian, aye. O'Donnell.
Aye.
O'Donnell, aye.
The consent calendar has 11 votes. We'll leave the roll open for absent members. We're going to move on a little bit of committee housekeeping. Measures off file. File item number 1, AB 1657, was pulled by the author. And we have re-referrals made by the Rules Committee today. File item number 3, AB 1710, Calderon, and file item number 7, AB 1851, Gray, will be referred to Rev and Tax after this hearing. So with that, we'll move forward to item number 2. Mr. Ting, are you in the house? Yes, you are. Mr. Ting, please proceed up to the podium and present AB 1677. Good afternoon, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I also have file item 222509. Was hoping I could do that one after this.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
We wouldn't want you to have to come back.
Well, I love coming back always. So thank you, Mr. Chair. AB 1677 deals with tour bus safety. As many of you might have heard, we had a number of high-profile tour bus incidents in San Francisco where unwittingly pedestrians were unfortunately run over and actually severely injured. We think one of those solutions is to do greater inspection. Currently, only 30% of tour buses in our state get inspected by the California Highway Patrol. We'd love for 100% to be inspected. Unfortunately, we just don't have the money to go do that. So what we are doing is allowing local jurisdictions that have the resources and the interest to work with the Highway Patrol to develop a local plan. Again, this is not a plan to substitute the Highway Patrol or somehow to reduce their inspections, but to actually augment it. And so this part would be, again, a plan that locals would have to opt into. No, we're not forcing any local governments to get involved. We're not saying you have to get involved. But I know in particular, my city and county, we're already doing protocols to work with CHP to be involved, and our Board of Supervisors and our mayor are in support of this bill. We also want to make sure that local inspections are consistent with state standards. And lastly, we want to make sure that the local inspection findings will be shared with our California Public Utilities Commission so that there is shared information back and forth between locals and the state. With that, as you all know, we all have tourism as a major lifeblood of much of our economy, something that we got to make sure that everybody is safe walking our streets, and would respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Matt Robinson on behalf of San Francisco Mayor Ed Lee in support.
Assemblymember Ting alluded to it, but we had a pretty tragic crash back in November of last year where a bus kind of lost control of its brakes and ended up running into a bunch of scaffolding and injuring several dozen people in the process. It turned out after follow-up by the California Highway Patrol that bus was in fact operating illegally. It had not passed the proper inspections and probably should not have been out there in the first place. Mayor Lee, as Assemblymember Ting referred to, has called for the inspection of all tour buses operating in San Francisco to ensure that this does not happen again. That responsibility currently falls with the PUC and the CHP, and we're hoping that this bill, if successful, will help supplement the efforts of those two state agencies. With that, I'd ask for your aye vote.
Next witness, please.
I'll go Jeannie Wardwaller with the California Bicycle Coalition here in support of this bill. This issue threatens the safety of pedestrians and bicyclists, and we think that Assemblymember Ting's efforts will protect those folks. Thank you.
Next witness, please.
Mr. Chairman, members, Mark Watts representing the San Francisco County Transportation Authority here in support of the measure. Thank you.
Any other witnesses in support? Seeing none, any witnesses in opposition to the bill?
Mr. Chairman, members, Josh Pane on behalf of the California Bus Association. The Highway Patrol was formed almost 100 years ago, and one of the purposes was to have a consolidated statewide inspection program. We think this is going in the wrong direction, that we should have one focal point for inspection, one statewide program, not going from San Mateo to Los Angeles every time a bus goes into San Francisco or into Marin County, that we should have to inspect again. The Highway Patrol does a very, very good job on their inspection program. The Bus Association believes that everyone should be inspected every 13 months, with which a whole host of our carriers do right now under a program called the School Pupil Activity Bus Program. So we would urge your no vote on this item, and thank you very much.
Next witness, please state your name and who you represent, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members, Aaron Reed, representing the California Association of Highway Patrolmen, and we respectfully are here to oppose this measure. The CHP has, as Mr. Pane mentioned, decades and decades of experience doing this work. If there's additional need for additional inspections, it should be done by the CHP. Local agencies don't want this. I represent local agencies as well, and I talk to local police. They are strapped. They are hammered with work. If you have a burglary at your home, they can't even come out. You have to file online in so many cases. They don't particularly want to do this work. No one I've talked to ever has suggested that they do want to do this work. They don't. They want the CHP to do it. It's the regulator to my right is suggested that CHP has done a good job. If it can do a better job by having more people do it, we're willing to work with the author on that to have the CHP do more. But I do want to tell you that they do much more than just inspect buses. They go into the bus facility, they check out the mechanics, they check out the drivers, the driver history, they check out the systems they have in place for checking the buses. And I do want to say that accident in San Francisco was tragic, but it was not the bus. It was driver error in that accident that's caused this bill to happen. It had nothing to do with whether the bus was malfunctioning. That bus did not malfunction. The driver malfunctioned. Okay, it was driver error. But if you want to hear more details about how the department does it, and they're recognized nationwide for doing this inspection work, I would ask you to call the department up here. They're the experts on it, not me, but I've represented the association for 38 years.
Thank you. What I'm going to do is a little bit of housekeeping again. I'm going to pass the gavel over to Mr. Linder. I have to go testify on one of my bills in Revenue Tax, so Mr. Linder, it's all yours.
Thank you. Were there any other opposition from the audience? Members with questions, comments? Mr. Mathis?
I'm just curious. I spent 12 years military as a heavy equipment motor vehicle operator, and before you took any vehicle out, you did what was called a PMCS, was proper maintenance checks and services. So how does this bill, Mr. Ting, ensure that before these buses leave the lot that the operators are actually doing so. Because what it comes down to, and I think Mr. Reed's right on this, it's up to the operator. The operator needs to do the checks, needs to ensure that the vehicle that they're going to be driving is safe before it leaves the lot, before they even take it out, before they go pick up any passengers or any of that. So how does your bill ensure that that's happening? Because that's where it needs to happen at it before they even pick up the first passenger, not as it goes city to city to city. You need to stop it at the beginning. So could you enlighten me on how your bill does that? And if maybe the gentleman from the Bus Association can explain to us how these checks are already being done to ensure before these buses go out it's being taken care of?
Happy to answer your question. As I mentioned earlier, only 30% of the buses on our streets actually get a full inspection that Mr. Reed described. And those are excellent inspections. We think the CHP does a good job. Again, this bill is just meant to augment that. I agree with you. The bus operators should be responsible in putting buses that are safe on the road. Unfortunately, we have buses, a number of incidents have happened where people are even bringing in illegal buses. They're called ghost buses. They're not even registered. They're registered in some other state. They have no safety inspection. Other buses do have had safety issues in our jurisdiction. So again, not most operators. We have a few bad actors, and we're trying to make sure that the buses on our streets are safe. When you have buses running over people on crowded sidewalks, it's up to us to do something about it. Just saying it's someone else's problem is not good enough.
Mr. Dodd?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm interested in understanding why only 30% of the buses are inspected. Are buses subject to the BIT program right now, like all commercial vehicles in the state of California?
Could we ask the department to come forward and answer that question? They're in the audience.
Sure. If there's a request for California Highway Patrol to come up and testify, answer some questions. Thank you for your assistance with this.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. My name is Captain Rich Desmond. I'm the legislative representative for the CHP. We don't have an official position on this bill, but I am happy to answer any questions the committee has here today.
Certainly. Mr. Dodd had a question about the
Captain
BIT
Desmond, are buses, all commercial buses that are registered in the state of California, subject to the same BIT program as any commercial vehicle?
Sir, they're very similarly treated, but passenger carriers are treated a little bit differently than the property carriers under the bid inspection program. With passenger carriers, with tour buses, the subject of this bill, each carrier is inspected every 13 months, and I believe the witnesses articulated some of that. Within that inspection, that terminal inspection, we inspect a sampling of the vehicle. So every time an inspector goes in, they will select which vehicles they're going to inspect on any given year. And it is the objective of the inspectors over the course of years to get to various vehicles, so each vehicle will be inspected at some point. During that inspection, similar to BIT, our inspectors are looking for the processes, hours of service, driver records, substance abuse testing records, self-inspection records of the vehicles to ensure that the carriers are actually doing their inspections before the vehicle goes out into service, and not less than every 45 days. So it's close, similar to the BIT inspection program, but slightly different.
So would you concur with Mr. Ting that only 30% of the buses at any given time have been subjected to test?
In 1 year's period of time, only a sampling of the actual buses are inspected during that terminal inspection. But when an inspector comes back, they will look at different buses in the fleet to inspect in subsequent years when they do those inspections.
Okay, and I recognize that San Francisco had this tragic accident there where people lost their lives. I guess the question I would have for you is this type of thing happened in a number of different places, or is this an aberration statistically?
In our opinion, it is an aberration statistically. It's a terrible tragedy, and we obviously view it the same way that Assemblymember Ting views it. Unfortunately, you're going to have carriers that are there always is going to have to be some self-reporting involved. I think an important distinction with this case is that this vehicle, if a vehicle is put in services and is not complying with the regulations or the registration, any law enforcement agency, including local agencies, have the authority to pull the bus over and take appropriate enforcement action on those vehicles that are operating illegally.
All right, one final question, Mr. Chair. So we heard the comments from one of the witnesses that a bus, let's just say, that's already been inspected by the CHP and certified would be subject to another certification from another local agency?
I'll just say that at this point we haven't developed, at least our city county has not developed that, but my understanding, at least the way that we are looking at it, is not to be duplicative of efforts, but to really augment efforts.
Right,
and again, this is something that local jurisdictions who are interested in would have to opt into. We're not making anybody do it, but we are asking folks that want to take the effort to go do it, to have more inspections, to have greater safety. And again, this is, and unfortunately, it's not just one incident where we've had a fatality or we've had tour buses run over people. We've had a string of incidents and injuries. So it's even very challenging where it's not even safe to walk the streets anymore. So I think that's a bigger challenge when people are getting run over in the crosswalk, walking the streets where they're supposed to be and getting run over. So again, that's why you have another tour bus bills this year coming through and bringing that forward.
Those would also include muni buses, right? Same. Never mind.
I have a question. So,
yes.
Any municipality or local jurisdiction could authorize some sort of a program under your bill to where they could provide their own inspection procedures, correct?
Again, with cooperation with CHP and using the same state standards. So they would not be able to develop somehow different standards or follow different rules or make things up. Again, this program is to try to augment what we're doing at the state level, not to replace it or not to substitute it.
So it would be using the same standards that CHP uses for their.
Correct, and partly it's just because, again, CHP only has a certain amount of time to get through so many. You heard from the officer that, again, they do a sample of the buses. So if they're going into a company, they're trying to do their best to go through a sample size of buses at a particular company. They don't have time to go through every single bus.
Now, and these jurisdictions can also charge a fee for doing this?
They would obviously charge a fee potentially to get reimbursed for their time.
Now, is it conceivable that every jurisdiction, every city that has a tour bus going through, say we have one that's a tour bus that goes from Orange County to the Bay Area, and every single municipality in between those two routes would want to put a program like this in place? Is it conceivable that
I find it highly unlikely that would happen.
I mean, there's incentive for them to do it if they're going to get paid.
I don't think there's any incentive for them to do it because, again, unless you represent a city that has not a whole lot to do. I mean, most of our cities are very, very busy. This is something that has risen to the level that we have to do something. Again, we've had tour buses on our streets for quite a number of years, so this is not. We just started introducing tour buses to San Francisco. They've been around for quite a while. Again, but when you have pedestrians getting run over and killed in your streets, then you got to do something.
Was there a comment that you had, Mr. Reed?
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd just like to say that uniform enforcement is critical, and you pointed out an important element. It would be very conceivable that a bus running from one county to another, say from the Bay Area up through Assemblymember Dodd's district to the wineries, could easily be stopped multiple times. And I'll compare it to commercial vehicles, the 18-wheel trucks. The CHP is the only law enforcement agency that can tie up a commercial truck and take them out of service. That's something that is not delegated to either PDs or county sheriffs because of the uniform enforcement issue, and the trucks roll from one city to another through multiple counties all in one day. sometimes from one end of the state to the other. Buses do the same, so uniform enforcement is important. And if there's a problem, we would urge the author to work with us. We're happy to augment the inspections, but the CHP is the most highly qualified and able to do that job. And so that's what we would recommend, and we'd be happy to work on that.
Thank you. Any other questions from members? Mr. Mathis?
Question for the other. I'm just curious why you didn't look at something like increasing the CHP's budget where they would have the better ability to do more inspections on their end versus doing something city orientated, because they're already the ones doing the inspections. Why not help them be able to perform more versus doing something separate where there's tension?
So can I take that as you might be interested in a tax or fee increase for CHP, increase in bus inspection?
My question was, why weren't you looking at that one versus the other?
I'm not.
So we have several things to fix in the transportation budget, Mr. Ting.
Assemblymember Baker.
Yeah.
Thank you, and thank you, Mr. Ting. Some of those very same buses go all throughout the Bay Area, and I do respect that they come out to our East Bay area and go shopping at the San Francisco outlets. But I find very compelling the testimony from both the Trucking Association and the Patrolmen's Association on having one entity with consistent standards. And from when I read the bill, another set of standards needs to be developed, certainly with Highway Patrol's involvement, but there isn't language in the bill that says they will be the same standards as the Highway Patrol already supplies. And I just want to clarify, I think I'm basically following up on Mr. Linder's question on, is it the likelihood that they can come up with different, local jurisdictions can, or are they, because the language I'm seeing in the bill, which is very concise, is with new protocols. Can you clarify that for me, please?
Sure. So the goal is to really work with CHP to do that. Again, as we all know, as we go through the bill process, the bills get refined. So if that's something, again, that we're hearing from the committees that is something that's very important, we're happy to work with that. Absolutely. So again, the goal was not to add additional standards. The goal was to augment the current standards we're having. And I think the only reason we left a little bit of openness in case people needed to add things that were specific to a local jurisdiction or specific to a local geography.
Ms. Melendez.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Assemblyman Ting, you have the great misfortune of being the first bill presenter today, which means we're all still fresh and perky, and so sorry.
You all had your coffee,
right? You're getting grilled.
No apologies necessary.
No, I appreciate what you're trying to do. I did want to ask a question though, because I heard from one side of the table, and I've read the articles as well, that the most recent accident you were referring to was a driver error and not a malfunction of the equipment. And then I have your representative from the mayor's office. You made the comment that the bus probably shouldn't have even been on the road anyway. And I wondered if you could comment as to what you meant by that.
So it's my understanding, and this is just having kind of revisited the news accounts surrounding that incident. One, the bus that the company was using to operate was a bus that had a track record of doing things like catching on fire randomly. It actually came from Washington, D.C. Transit, was imported to San Francisco, got reconfigured along the way, became a double-decker bus. You wouldn't have known it was a transit bus. But it had a history of malfunctioning. That type of bus did. Came to San Francisco, was operating. There wasn't an inspection that was done prior to the incident that occurred on the 13th of November. However, upon a follow-up after the incident happened, it's my understanding, and CHP, please jump in here if I'm wrong, but the department went and inspected the facility of the operator of that particular bus and found a number of buses that were still on the lot out of compliance with of current standards set by the PUC.
Okay, I need to stop you right there because we're talking about this particular bus.
Right.
We're not talking about the other buses in the lot, and we're not talking about what reputation the company did or didn't have. We're talking about this particular bus. So could you please refine your comments to that particular bus? Because you said that bus probably shouldn't have been on the road, and I didn't know if there's something I'd missed along the way in the stories or...
The bus was brought in. I think the officer also inferred this in his comments too. The bus was brought in and not properly registered. So it was brought in. It was jerry-rigged. It was operating on the bus on our streets illegally, and I think that's what the officer was saying. That not only was it not inspected, but it was also what we call a ghost bus.
A ghost. Okay, so then let's shift, if I may, Mr. Chairman, to CHP for comment, because there was an investigation conducted after that accident. Is that right?
That's
and it
correct.
was determined that it was driver error, nothing, irrespective of whether the bus was modified or not. Is that correct?
That's correct. San Francisco Police Department was the primary agency to do the investigation. Our multi-accident investigation team assisted them and actually did the mechanical inspection on the bus and determined that there was no mechanical error that contributed to the accident.
Mr. Linder?
Did I hear it correctly that this bus was not properly registered, so it wouldn't have applied? This bill wouldn't have applied to it because this bill doesn't go after ghost buses. It goes after those that are currently registered. Correct?
This bill is part of a 3-bill package. Mr. Hill, Mr. Chews, and myself. I believe Mr. Chews' bill is the ghost bus bill.
Okay.
So we're trying to coordinate the 3 different bills.
Any other questions of the committee of the author or the author's witnesses for and against? Seeing none. Mr. Ting, would you like to close?
Again, what we're trying to do is to augment already what CHP is doing. We think that CHP does a good job. Unfortunately, there are resource constraints. So when you have local governments that are interested in being more involved, like my city and county, it's just giving them the opportunity to do it in cooperation with CHP, in cooperation with the San Francisco PUC, with the California PUC, excuse me. Respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Ting. So of the committee, we have no motion as of yet. Mr. Ting, we have a lack of a motion on your bill. We can hold it over, ask for reconsideration.
If you would, yes, I would like to have reconsideration.
Okay. We will grant you reconsideration and look forward to moving forward on the next bill.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please present 2509.